Mike Vrabel could be pulling a page out of Bill Belichick's book. That's where we start. This is Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And I am your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, been covering the Patriots the last 16 years on the radio, online, also co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles. And a reminder, we go live every Sunday after the Patriots game, so we'll be doing that again this Sunday. On today's episode, we'll tell you why a Christian Gonzalez return would help this defense, but not save it. Also, it's time for Mike Vrabel to make a significant decision, even if he doesn't necessarily want to. But first, let's discuss the handling of Drake Maye. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, and for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Help a brother out with this podcast. And this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Drake Maye had the best start of his NFL career this past weekend in Miami, but yet he didn't get a game ball. Kind of an interesting post-game that played out in front of the cameras. And you could see this on social media. Mike Vrabel gave a game ball to a bunch of dudes in the locker room. He gave a game ball to Andy Borregales. He gave a game ball to Zach Core. He gave a game ball to Antonio Gibson, Ramondre Stevenson, but yet there was no game ball for the quarterback who just had his best game of his NFL career, that there is no way, no how on God's green earth you win that game without that quarterback. Now, was this intentional? Was it not intentional? Was this tough love from Mike Vrabel onto Drake Maye? Is this the latest example of a New England head coach being just a little bit tougher, if not a lot tougher, on his quarterback than anybody else in that locker room? Greg Bedard wrote about this at Boston Sports Journal. He wrote the following after the game. Vrabel was asked about Maye's day, and, well, this isn't the way I would have answered it, writes Bedard. Quote, I think there's a lot of good things and a lot of things we'll have to fix. The command and the operation, and when he feels that lull, that's when we've got to tighten the screws on these guys and get them set faster and get them out of huddle faster and really push them. Vrabel said, speaking of Maye, he's a jockey, and he's got to know what the flow of the team looks like offensively. We had a couple of penalties and false starts. Again, things we really aren't going to be able to overcome eventually, unquote. So Mike Vrabel, asked a question about Maye, could have said a lot of things. He could have thrown a bouquet at the feet of Drake Maye and said the kid was terrific. He was excellent. That's the best game I've ever seen him have. I thought that he was really good. I thought that he led us to this victory. But he went a different way, which is interesting. Now, Bedard does write the following at Boston Sports Journal in his defense, as in Vrabel's. He did clean it up a bit on Monday. Here's what Vrabel said about his quarterback on Monday. Quote, hugely efficient. The ball went where it was supposed to go. He was decisive. I thought he did a great job of transferring up into the pocket, setting his depth, and then transferring up, being really good with the football, unquote. So maybe this is just a case of Vrabel going back, looking at the game again, really combing through this film, looking at Drake Maye, and said, you know what? Maybe he was better than I thought he was. Or, man, Maye was really good. Maybe that's it. Mike Vrabel had a second shot to watch the game and said, you know, if I'm asked about Maye, which I'm certainly going to be asked about Maye on the Monday press conference, I'm going to be a little bit nicer to my quarterback. But it does. It does. The way that it was handled in the postgame, the fact that Maye did not get a game ball, maybe Vrabel just didn't think about it. Maybe he was thinking of the final quarter, right? Antonio Gibson, Andy Borregales, Marte Mapu, guys that made big plays in that final quarter. So maybe it was just an oversight by the head coach, and we leave room for that to be the case. But what else could be going on with how Vrabel approached his QB after the best game that QB's ever had in the NFL. One option, one possibility is that Vrabel looks at this like I think all of us should look at Drake Maye and the younger players on this team and understand, appreciate, and embrace the idea that development is not linear. Guys, usually, if you're watching the video, they don't usually go like this, right? Athletes don't usually go like this, the straight line up to the very tippity top. Usually doesn't work out that way. There's bumps in the road. And maybe the way that Vrabel handled Drake Maye in the postgame in Miami, maybe this is a case of the head coach saying, look, yeah, he had a really good game, but let's not allow him to get too far ahead. Let's not start jumping to conclusions here. We know that Vrabel is big on the details. Maybe he just wants to make sure that his quarterback is focused on the details. Vrabel understanding we've got to build a foundation here. And if I go out there week 2, give him the game ball and, just shower him with compliments for 3 straight minutes when I'm asked about the QB in the post-game press conference, maybe, just maybe, that foundation won't be fully set. And then Maye will start thinking ahead. So let's slow everything down. Let's set the foundation, focus on the details, not get too far ahead. Maybe it's a case of Vrabel having just very high expectations for his young quarterback. And maybe he looks at the game and says, yeah, he was good, but he wasn't great. And I think he could be better. And I want to demand better from him. If I go out there and I act like Maye did no wrong, or I act like this was a perfect game for him, what happens the next time? I need to demand more. I need to demand better until I watch a game and say, now that was flawless. Now that was perfect. Now that I have no complaints. Maybe Mike Vrabel just looks at it and says, I have such high expectations for Drake Maye. I don't want him to get complacent. And I also want the quarterback to understand that even when he's good, sometimes you're going to lose. Even if you're good, you could be really good and lose because this team has a small margin for error. And we have to make sure that he understands that. Because if he's good for 85% of the game, that 15% can truly burn us. We're not talented enough to make a ton of mistakes. Well, you're okay to make mistakes against Miami, I guess, but not against a lot of other teams. And Mike Vrabel could look at this and say, Drake Maye, you are the quarterback. I have high expectations for you, and I am going to set you to the highest standard possible because you're the guy. You're the franchise. If we're putting up a billboard and my face isn't on it, your face is on it. This could also just be a simple case of Mike Vrabel trying to build the leadership qualities within Drake Maye by demanding more and understanding that if he demands more from the quarterback is going to give him more, hopefully, if he takes the words of his head coach like gospel. I demand more from you. You should demand more from me, demand more from each other, and we should get more from each other in this head coach quarterback relationship. And because you're the quarterback, you're going to have to ask other guys for more. You're going to have to ask the other guys to be better. You're going to have to lead this offense. And if Kyle Williams at some point during this season has 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, you can celebrate that. You could talk about that in the moment, but you best be ready to go to Williams and demand more from your wide receiver. You are the quarterback. You set the example. Or maybe we just break it down to its simplest. And if Mike Vrabel didn't just miss this, it wasn't just a simple oversight. Maybe Mike Vrabel just didn't believe the quarterback needs a lollipop. Maybe he believes that Drake Maye is already supremely confident. He doesn't need the pat on his back. Maybe Mike Vrabel feels like the guys he gave the pat on the back with the game ball are the guys that need that pat on the back. And he looks at Drake Maye and says, I have high expectations. He has high expectations. Yes, he was really good, but I don't need to tell him he was really good right after the game. I need to instill confidence in the Antonio Gibsons, Ramondre Stevensons, Andy Borregales, and Marte Mapus, and Zach Kors, because those are the guys that truly need the lollipop. They truly need the gold star on the paper to take home and put on the fridge. It's interesting. We'll see if Mike Vrabel continues to handle Drake Maye differently than some of the other players on the team. It's going to be fascinating. I have to believe he has a reason for it. Coming up, the latest on Christian Gonzalez and why the Pats can certainly hope that he will help this defense, and he should, but they should not bank on Gonzalez's eventual return to save their defense. This is Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Antonio Gibson's 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Not only was Gibson's kickoff return the perfect response to Miami's punt return for a TD seconds earlier, it also put the Patriots up for good on Sunday. Gibson's kickoff return for a TD helped the team keep moving forward, and so did Gibson's teammates who helped block for the big-time play and score. Don't forget about those guys. Anthony Jennings, Jack Westover, and many other Patriots opening the door for Antonio Gibson to get that 90-yard kickoff return. Patriots never looked back, victorious in Miami. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues and login screens and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why you should use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you actually pay. You pull up Game Time, and just a couple of taps, you see amazing deals. Talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. Check out the zone deals, too. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Mike Vrabel was asked about Christian Gonzalez on Monday and whether or not Gonzalez would be coming back this week if there was a chance. And Vrabel said, quote, there's a chance. There's a chance. And then Vrabel said, there's a chance a lot of things could happen. Now, I want everybody, including myself, to understand this. Christian Gonzalez will absolutely help this defense when he returns. He's an all-pro corner. Of course he's going to help this defense, and we will break down some of the ways he would or will help this defense if when he comes back. But I also want to appreciate the idea that Gonzalez is not going to be a savior for this defense. Just because he is an all-pro corner doesn't mean he's going to walk onto the football field and everything is figured out. There's Christian Gonzalez. Everything is solved. Let's start with the help before we get to the not a savior part. When Christian Gonzalez returns, whether it's this week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he comes back, that allows the defensive staff to open up the playbook. It allows you to blitz and not be as worried to blitz because you trust that Christian Gonzalez and man coverage is going to do his job and be one of the best shutdown corners in football like he was last year. It allows you to do different coverages, give offenses different looks, and you've done that through the first couple of weeks, but you have more confidence in your ability to be multiple on the defensive side of the ball when you add an all-pro cornerback. You also can look at Christian Gonzalez and simply say, that's their best weapon, shut it down. Imagine Christian Gonzalez against Brock Bowers if Mike Vrabel and his staff decided to do that week one. Do you think Bowers has that kind of second half? Does he have those couple of big plays that he had? What if you had Christian Gonzalez this past week against the Dolphins and he would be able to defend one of Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle? Do you think that third and very long, that ridiculous pass by Tua Tagovailoa that somehow, some way was caught by Hill, do you think that happens on Christian Gonzalez? I certainly do not. So it just allows you to breathe a little bit easier to look at a top talent, let's say DK Metcalf this weekend for the Steelers, and for you to look at DK Metcalf as a coach and say, Christian Gonzalez is the answer, not worried about DK Metcalf. The top weapon eraser. And if you have Gonzalez to go along with Carlton Davis, that combination, it'll help you take away the easy stuff from an offense. Let me put some shine on Carlton Davis for a minute because these two guys are going to be a combo. That was the vision. Carlos Lopez on Twitter posted, against the Dolphins, there were 36 routes run while Davis was out there on the field. Carlton Davis was targeted once. He was targeted one time the entire game. He gave up one catch. It was for 4 yards. And Carlton Davis also had 4 tackles, and I thought he was pretty physical on the perimeter during that game. Evan Lazar wrote about Carlton Davis at Patriots.com. He wrote the following: the Dolphins did not test Davis much downfield, choosing to funnel the ball elsewhere, which was a wise choice. Davis was targeted. Now, according to Lazar's numbers, Davis was targeted 4 times for a whopping minus 0.4 air yards per target, allowing a few short catches, mostly as flat corner and cover 2. So you have Carlos Lopez with certain metrics saying 1 time targeted, 1 catch, 4 yards allowed. You've got Evan Lazar saying that Carlton Davis was targeted 4 times, and there were a couple of short catches in the flat, and they were no big deal taken care of by Davis. And if you have Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez on the field at the same time, it is absolutely unequivocally going to help your ability to limit big plays downfield, as I just mentioned with that Tyreek Hill play against Alex Austin. And if you can play some press man physical coverage, which I would anticipate Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis doing, if you could have both your outside corners playing man press coverage, at least from time to time, you're going to force the quarterback to hold it longer. And that's how you take the easy stuff away. But Christian Gonzalez is not going to be a savior. He's not going to be the answer to all of your problems. He's not some magic elixir. He'll help, but he won't completely solve, because the Patriots have to solve their linebacker issue. We talked about it on both episodes earlier this week. Robert Spillane, Christian Ellis not doing a good enough job, whether it's against the run or the pass, the missed tackles, the bad coverage. Christian Gonzalez is not going to be able to cover his guy and then also play defense for Robert Spillane and Christian Ellis. You still have to solve that linebacker issue. The second level has to be figured out sooner rather than later. And don't forget, if you are going to play man coverage, and don't forget the idea that Mike Vrabel said to the media that the idea, the envision of this defense is take that cat defense, right? I think it's take that cat defense, something along those lines, which is, easy to explain as Christian Gonzalez, you take that cat, Carlton Davis, you take that cat, we're good to go. If you are going to play more man coverage with both your outside corners out there and healthy, if we get to that point, that opens the door for offenses to use motion, identify what you're doing with the man coverage, and to try to match up their running backs against your linebackers, or to try to line up their tight ends against your safeties or linebackers. So if you do play man coverage more often with your 2 outside corners healthy and able and out there, then get ready, because offenses will immediately look to take advantage, get that matchup one-on-one against the linebacker. You also have to look at this and say Christian Gonzalez is not a savior because he can't play safety. And Craig Woodson was not as good in week 2 as he was in week 1. He's a rookie. We're going to see the ups and downs again. It's not linear. Is linear a straight line? I think it is. Straight line. Not going up. But you look at the safeties and Craig Woodson and Jalen Hawkins. It's not as if Christian Gonzalez is going to be able to play safety for you. GTFB, make sure those guys are back there defending that back end and not giving up plays over the top. Christian Gonzalez is not going to solve the missed tackling as a team. Everybody's missing tackles, not just the linebackers. He's not going to be able to help the angles of the safeties and the linebackers on these run plays. He's not going to be able to help everything. He's not a one-man fix-it-all. So he will help. And with Gonzalez, whenever he gets back, hopefully it's this week. If he's back this week, he will help. You'll have more support for the second level. But it's not going to be the end-all, be-all. There are a number of things with this defense that have to get figured out with or without Christian Gonzalez. He'll certainly help, but he won't save the day. And we should not have those kinds of expectations. We should want to see improvement from everybody else, whether or not your best defensive player is out there. It's time for the Pats to make a significant decision they likely don't want to make. That's next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, listen to this. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Check out FanDuel. I love using it. It fits however I like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Just sit down on a Sunday with some buddies, have FanDuel open, and continue to check on it as you watch football. Nothing's better. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. And here's the cool thing. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little energy to Sundays. Again, right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So the question I ask all the time, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. The Pats have to make a decision on the defensive staff and what to do with Terrell Williams. The time has come. You're getting ready for week 3. Inching closer to a full month into the season. You were without Terrell Williams in Miami. He was not around last week because of a health situation. And as we've been saying, we obviously hope that the human being Terrell Williams is healthy. We hope that he gets through whatever he's going through. Some of these challenges over the past several months for him, it's not easy. So we hope that he is going to be on the mend here and get better. But for the football team, Mike Vrabel's got to make a decision. And Vrabel was asked by the media during his Monday press conference what was going on, what's the latest with Terrell Williams. And Vrabel said that, quote, Terrell will be around. I don't quite fully know in what capacity, unquote. I don't quite fully know in what capacity. You got to make a decision. You've got to look at this and say, is Terrell Williams our defensive coordinator or is he not? Are we going to slide him to a senior advisory role, a consultant role? Maybe he'll keep the defensive coordinator title out of respect, but you've got to make this decision. For continuity's sake, you've got to make a decision. You want to make sure that your play caller is going to be there week in and week out, working on the game plans, understanding the weaknesses and the strengths, not missing any kind of time, and he's able to be fully invested. I'm sure Terrell Williams wants to be fully invested, loves the game of football, has been waiting his entire life to have this opportunity as a defensive coordinator. But you got to do what's best for the team. That's what you ask from the players. If you're Mike Vrabel, that's what you ask from yourself. And that's what you've got to do dealing with this situation, no matter how difficult it is. And Terrell Williams and Mike Vrabel are close. Really good relationship. And it won't be easy. It can't be easy for Mike Vrabel to just sit back and say, you know what, we'll slide Terrell Williams into the background, put him on that shelf, and, we'll dust him off maybe in 2026. But you need a play caller. You need a play caller that you know is going to be there. You need somebody who's going to be the main communicator with the defense. And you want that message, you want that voice to be the same message and voice throughout the season. You want consistency. You don't want Zach Core being the guy for a couple of weeks. Then he leaves, goes to be the inside linebackers coach, and then Terrell Williams takes over, and they've got different ways of communicating with different players. Maybe they get, different levels of play from different guys. You want that consistency. You want that continuity. You want to know how your defensive play caller is going to handle a certain situation. You want those consistent decisions. So that's number one. Number two, it's likely just best for Terrell Williams. I mean, I think a lot of people overlook because we watch the games on Sundays. We talk about the team all week long. We see the press conferences. I'm not sure that people understand, or not everybody understands, how tough it is to be an NFL coach. Just a coach. Just a coach. Just a positional coach. We're not even talking about coordinator or head coach. These are long hours, my friends. Terrell Williams, I'm going to guess, puts in, when he's DC and he's healthy and he's in the building all week, 70, 80, 90 hours. Do you really want to put Terrell Williams through that? Can you bank on Terrell Williams to be there? Even if he's there this week and next week, can you bank on him being there 3 weeks from now for 80, 90 hours? I was talking to Greg Bedard on our podcast earlier today, and Greg put it perfectly. Do you think Terrell Williams was in the building 2:30 in the morning on the Monday night, Tuesday morning, sitting there grinding film? I would find that hard to believe, given what he's going through. And he shouldn't. He shouldn't be doing that. And then you got to think about the travel. You got to think about the stress of the around-the-clock job trying to get better. It just feels like it would be best for Terrell Williams and best for the team to make sure that Terrell Williams, let's borrow a phrase that was all over the place last week with Drake Maye, it just feels like it would be best for everybody involved if Terrell Williams had less on his plate. Let him get healthy. Let him get through whatever he has to get through. Give him the helping hand. But you got to make this decision. And if Terrell Williams gets a clean bill of health, maybe you say he's going to stay with us and he's going to be our defensive coordinator. He could stay with you, but maybe you say he's going to be our DC. But he was given a clean bill of health just a few weeks ago. He missed a lot of early camp. And you obviously felt like he was going to be okay, and he obviously felt like he was going to be okay, or he would not have come back. He would not have had the job of DC for week 1. So can you really be confident that even if he is given the clean bill of health, that he's going to stay and be locked in? I think it's best for him and it's best for everybody. Make him a senior advisor, a consultant, whatever. He can be in the building when he can be in the building from a health standpoint. He can be there for advice. But I would not put that responsibility on him right now with what's been going on the last 6 to 8 months. I just wouldn't. And we don't know the specifics, but it's obviously significant enough for him to miss a major portion of, the first half of camp, the early camp process, and not even be in New England, have to stay. I think it was Detroit from his time with the Lions. And now he gets pulled away after 1 week on the job in the regular season. So it's just best for everybody. Now, when this decision is made, begs the question, will Mike Vrabel actually stick with the decision? What happens if the defense doesn't improve over the next few weeks? What happens if Mike Vrabel realizes Zach Core, his learning curve is a little bit steeper than I might have thought? And let's also not forget that Zach Core is the positional coach for the inside linebackers. And what have we talked about ad nauseum already about this defense and earlier in the episode? The linebackers being a problem. Do you want to take one of your positional coaches? Do you want to take your inside linebackers coach and put more responsibility on him? Does that mean that the inside linebackers are getting enough attention, enough love from their positional coach? Maybe, maybe not. And I'm not in love with the idea with Mike Vrabel being the guy calling the defensive plays. This operation needs work. It needs to be cleaner. It needs less penalties, less procedural penalties. They need to do a lot of things better. And I want Mike Vrabel to be that CEO on top of all of it, making sure that it all gets better. So tough decision, but a decision that I think has to be made ASAP. You've got to move forward with the plan. You've got to stick to that plan. You've got to believe in that plan and hope that you improve on that side of the ball and hope that Terrell Williams gets better. And maybe, just maybe, he's back in 2026 as your defensive coordinator. But you got to make that call right now. Got to. All right, that wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer. Reach out to me on Twitter at Nick C Radio. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit that like button. It means a lot to us. And don't forget to subscribe. Trying to get to 7,000 subscribers. That's the next goal. We can do it with your help. And for your second listen, get a double dose of Locked On NFL, that podcast with Tyler, the Madman Rowland, and Tony Wiggins. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow with a crossover edition. We'll talk Patriots Steelers. Till then, be well.